Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Tapping into Abundant Success podcast. I'm so excited to be here today because we have the witchy coven branding alchemy amazing Gemma Storey. She has joined me for this podcast episode, and I'm just going to let her introduce herself because she's just awesome. So Gemma, tell us a little bit about you and what it is you do.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that intro. And also thank you for having me. As I say, I'm just so honoured to be on the summit. So yes, I'm Gemma Storey and I'm also known as a brand alchemist. So I specialise in crafting soul-aligned brands for female solopreneurs. I like to combine the idea of branding with a bit of astrology and a little bit of human design, a little bit of numerology, and that kind of gives me their soul print, and that's where I build a brand from. But once I've gone through the soul aligned branding, I do love to teach my clients and students all about Canva, because I do believe that is one of the number one tools that every business owner needs to know. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Oh, I love it. And I do love the way that you've got your Canva coven and you bring all your witchiness into it. So Gemma has expressed that she's joining me in the summit, but I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. So for the Tapping into Abundant Success podcast, which is what we're here doing, the things that we normally share here is about, stepping fully into your power so you can just literally tap into that abundant success. Gemma, tell me a little bit more about your story to creating success in your life, because I know it's not as straightforward, and sometimes especially for those that might just be starting out or they're only just opening up to the spiritual gifts, they might just feel a little bit stuck perhaps, or a little bit not really sure how to fully own what they want to do and what they want to achieve. So tell us a little bit about your journey from being where you were to saying, fuck this shit, I'm ready to be me.
Yeah, great question. And how long have you got? So I'll try and keep the story condensed, but in a nutshell, I've always been arty. So right from a young age, I've always been interested in design and all throughout college and uni. And then once you finish uni, the next sort of step is to be in a full-time job. And this is where I talk a lot about going with your gut feeling a lot, because although I was lucky to get a full-time job at a design agency, everything in my fiber at the time was going against it. And I couldn't figure out why, because I was like, I should be grateful that I've got this job and that I'm getting experience and it's going to open up all these doors. But actually, what I found from my own journey was that it was quite suppressing. So I started off working as a junior designer in a design agency, surrounded by all men. I was the only female. So you can imagine what the job projects were. A lot of it was aviation based and oil rigs and things like that. Now this is where the unsettled feelings kept coming up. I kept feeling I'm better. My soul needs more. Like I'm craving. Like I need to make an impact, or bring some sort of transformation. Like I just didn't feel like I was on my soul's journey. But at the time, being 26, I just kept suppressing it, really. I kept thinking, oh, it's fine, it's fine. You're meant to be here for 10, 20, 30, 40 odd years, because that's what I was brought up with. A lot of my that was my indoctrination from my parents. And this is the thing where eventually everything started to fall apart. So my health took a bad turn. I got very, very ill because I was working in an environment under fluorescent lighting and working 16 hours a day. I often joked maybe I should have a sleeping bag under my desk. And then eventually I just got to the point of a breaking point where I collapsed in the middle of the lobby. And I thought, is this really my life? Like, am I here to be on this sort of hamster wheel? And this is why I feel entrepreneurs have this aha moment. We always had that aha moment. And the pattern is they have some sort of breaking point in their corporate world. And that's when they go, as you say, fuck it, let's just go for it. And that's what I did. And I remember telling my parents, and they were like, oh, should you be leaving this safe job? Like, I don't think you should be working for yourself. You've got no clients, etc., etc. But I had this burning fire of like, I need to follow my calling. And it was eventually I actually started listening to myself. And so I guess the turning point was I had a friend of mine She was going through a bit of a messy divorce, and so she was looking for a little side hustle to get some cash flow in. And so what she did was she turned baby grows into teddy bears, and she put something out on Facebook saying, "Oh, can anyone help me with a logo?" And I thought, you know what, I wouldn't mind helping her. So I reached out, and when I did that, it was like, that's what I meant to do. So going back to the corporate world, you build all these brochures and brands and all these different projects for very little, like, they don't really care as much because it's like they're going through like a tier of their own bosses. Whereas when you're working with solopreneurs, it's them in their business, it's their heart, it's their passion. And that was when I thought, I need to work with heart-led, soulful women. And it was like the transformation of when they've gone from before and after. So that really was the starting point. I threw myself into networking, especially female-based networking, because that's just what I was craving at the time. And I think that was the audience that I could really resonate with. But going back to what you were saying about how I managed to find it in terms of bringing it in the soul and bringing it very heart-centered, well, I guess the answer to that question is, you are your brand and no souls are the same. So really, I always like to teach my clients is build a brand based on you. So for example, don't look at trends, don't look at competitors, look within. And it is literally the magic of within. I mean, I can tell you what happened to me. So when I left the corporate agency, when I first branded for my own business, Infinity Creative, it was pretty much a carbon copy of where I came from. It was very corporate, very sort of, we're talking in the third person, making myself sound bigger than I am. And really, I started to resent my job because I wasn't attracting the right clients. I wasn't being the true self. And that was quite hypocritical as a brand designer, not designing who I am. So I had a bit of a turning point during 2020. I think a lot of people did during that year. And I took the investment to work with a coach. And I think that's always something I'd recommend is investing in yourself and your business. And she said to me straight away, because she was quite intuitive herself, she said, "You're holding back." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And I didn't even tell her much about what my journey was. She just knew that I was holding back. And she knew that I was holding back this kind of witchy spiritual like desire to be in my business. But the problem was, as I say, I've been surrounded by a lot of people that are very anti that. They find it, what I assumed, a bit of a turn off in terms of working with someone. So that's why I hid it. I hid that side of me very, very deeply and tried to appear very corporate. So I thought, if I'm going to rebrand, I'm going to go for it. And I literally went for it. So I don't know if you know the show Sabrina the Teenage Witch back in the 90s.
I loved it. It was my favorite. Could always watch it on repeat.
That is like, oh, nostalgia vibe. Like, I'll watch it every year. And it's something I loved as a kid. I've always grown up with being surrounded by magic, like Disney, Harry Potter, Sabrina Teenage Witch, like all those things I've loved. And there really is a lot of magic in the world. And that's what I like to hold on to. And so my business is pretty much based off that. I even have a cat called Salem. And I just love it because although it's witchy, it's still fun and approachable. And the moment I did it and I released the new logo and the new colors and showing up with the woo-woo colors and the hats and things, it was like, wow, now I've finally stepped into my power and I've become a magnet for my ideal clients, because now this is the big one, is our brands are meant to repel people as well as attract. If your brand isn't repelling, I would suggest it's probably not that strong and you're not really getting deep into those layers of who you are. So yeah, that's a bit of a nutshell of my story. But yeah, I'm very much into branding who you are.
Absolutely. And I love that. And there's so many amazing, valuable points that you shared today. So one is about your soul journey. And I was actually talking to some of the other speakers, excuse me. I was talking to some of the other speakers through the podcast interviews that we've been doing, and we're all there is a theme, and this theme is for a spiritual entrepreneur to actually step into your power, to connect with your truth. You've got to go through the shit first, because you're not going to be able to step into it. It's almost as if we are programmed to say, well, it's only when I get to my breaking point I'm going to make those decisions to change. And I love the fact that you have honed in on the let's make you magnetic to your ideal client. So I've always focused on women in business, but I knew that there was something off, but I didn't have the understanding, knowledge, or click button to say, well, what is it that I'm meant to be doing? And earlier this year, literally just this year, I've kind of made a massive shift in my business. And it was, I worked with women in business because that was my safe area. But actually, spiritual entrepreneurs is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is where I'm supposed to be going. And ever since I've made that decision, I have just, it's like the switch has just gone, the gates have opened, everything's fallen into alignment. And it's just been absolutely phenomenal. So I'm really pleased that you've shared that message, because we need to hear that and we need to share that more. When you're not in alignment, you're going to keep, it's just not going to feel fun. So getting that magic of you out and into the open, and reach out and get support if you need to do that as well. So
I mean, how liberating is it to say that I am showing up in my business 100% me, because all your whole entire message is going to come from the heart, and people are going to resonate with that. And I think, like we said at the very start of this podcast, was like, people love to see real. They don't want to see refined and polished and edited and curated. I think that's what really is the human connection, is showing up essentially as you, and not copying a trend or a competitor, or feeling like we have to be something we're not. So yeah, alignment is everything.
it is. But also, I know I was reading something the other day about alignment, and we don't have to wait until we're in alignment to take action. Alignment will also come whilst you are building towards it. So don't be afraid to take that action. Don't wait for things to be perfect.
Yes.
So leading on then. So I'm just going to swiftly move on here because I'm aware of time, and I know we've already given some amazing value today. But Gemma, you are joining us in the upcoming summit, which I am so excited about. And I'd love you to share a little snippet of what you're going to be teaching inside the summit.
Yes, of course. So yeah, I'm so excited to be able to deliver this. So I'm literally going to be talking all about unleashing the magic. So it's all about like mastering the art of a soul aligned brand. So as I say, it's all about building a brand based around you and what your soul desire is. And basically, a lot of people don't know, but there are two halves to a brand. You've got this kind of yin and yang, or sometimes I talk about like in the ocean, you've got like an iceberg, and the top of the iceberg, you see things, what I would say is like your logo, your color palette, your fonts, that sort of thing. But actually, what makes a soul aligned brand goes so much deeper than what you see above the surface. And that's really what I would say is the emphasis, is building upon a good foundation. And just a few of those things would be talking about your why. So what is your why for starting your business? And if you think about a compass, it leads north. And that is often what I talk about a lot, is leading with that North Star, and that is your why. If you're constantly bringing it back to that, you know you're on the right path. And of course, around that, you've got things like, your ideal client. You want to know who you're working with. You want to know what your unique stardust is, i.e. your niche. So what makes you different? Because let's say there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of branding designers out there. But why would someone want to work with me? And that's why it's important to build a brand on you, because people buy people. They don't really, obviously they care what you do, but really they love to know why you do it. It comes back to that beautiful Martin Luther King quote. So yes, I'll definitely be going into a lot more reasons why the Soulful brand is important, especially now that people are craving more of that connection. And of course, it's refining your niche and what you want to give to the world. That's another thing that I'm so passionate about, is don't build a business or a brand just because you think it's going to make you lots of money. You have to build it from passion, because you need to wake up every day and feel excited and just like, yes, this is my life. If it comes from that, everything will flow naturally. So yes, that's a little snapshot of what I'll be teaching at the summit.
Brilliant. I can't wait. It's so exciting. And, even for those that have already got their branding, they know where they're going, don't ever disvalue the importance of revisiting it. That is a message that I will share today, because as you change, evolve and grow, gain experience, knowledge and everything else, so does your brand.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about this masterclass you're going to be sharing with us, Gemma. I'm really excited to hear more from you. I can't wait to see what transformations are going to take place from the summit as well. I mean, there's so much value-packed information in there. So for those of you that are listening, watching, tuning in, make sure you go to the show notes, grab that link, or come find us on social media, get connected, start building that relationship with us now, and get involved and come and learn from us with inside the Spiritual Entrepreneurs Business Growth Summit 2023. So I'm going to wrap up here for now. Gemma, I can't wait to see you in the summit as a keynote speaker. And to those that are listening, thank you for joining us today. There is a button you can click to send us a voice message to let us know if you've got any other questions or you need any other assistance, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you so much, Gemma. I loved being in this space with you today, and I can't wait to move forward. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much.